So what you see is what you get.
Counter-Strike 2 released last month, garnering a mixed reception. Many people have said that it's much worse than CSGO, and I agree. I have over 1,000 hours in CSGO and managed to solo queue my way up to Legendary Eagle, which was an uphill struggle. Between having to carry garbage teammates every game to playing against obvious silent wall hackers every other match, it was way harder than it should have been, but I managed to do it. I've been playing FPS my whole life, and I'm pretty good at it, so what was my rank in CS2? Silver 3 on Mirage, but what about Premier? In Premier I'm hard stuck at 4K ELO, and after I reach 4K, I lose 500 ELO but stand only to gain 100. To rank up, I would need an 80 or 90% win rate in solo queue. Why is there such a discrepancy between my rank in CS2 and CSGO? Is it just a skill issue? To find an answer, I went online, and I found that scores of other people were having the same issue as me. They were global in CSGO, even face at rank 8 or 10, but in CS2 they are stuck at 4K in Premier and the silver ranks in competitive. Tell me in the comments if you have had the same experience playing this game as I have. Sprays are extremely inconsistent. In some games they are very accurate and it's easy to hit headshots. In other games I can't hit a spray on a target 5 feet away. In one match, my one-taps are hitting, in another match they fail to register. In some matches, my opponents are absolute bots and I can dry peek on them without getting punished. In others, they have new Steam accounts or less than 600 hours, and they can one-tap me in the head while I'm playing an off angle before they even appear on my screen. Most of my opponents in Premier at 4K rank do not use utility, and they will push through smoke in situations that don't make sense, getting an instant one-tap headshot. When I try to do the same thing, I get absolutely destroyed. Peeker's advantage is really intense in this game, but for some reason, it never works in my favor. When I try to wide swing, I'm dead before I even see an enemy. The way these games progress is also very strange. I might be 4 or 6 rounds up and top fragging on T's side, but when teams swap, my opponents suddenly start one-tapping like they're face at 10s, and I can't score a single kill. My sprays stop working, my hit registration goes down the toilet, and my AK starts dinking people. When we rush a site, the whole CT team stacks it no matter how many fakeouts we try. Playing CS2 feels like rolling a dice, and it almost seems like my input has nothing to do with what's happening on screen. I did very well in my Legendary Eagle games in CSGO, but for some reason, I struggle to even contend with 1.5k ELO players in CS2. Something is very, very wrong, and as it turns out, I'm not alone in my complaints. Many players on Reddit have shared similar experiences to me. They used to be LE or global in CSGO, but in CS2, they can't even win against silvers. They get instant headshot by someone swinging out, despite holding an off angle or walking up to the angle and making no noise. Here are a few examples of comments from Reddit. Oh my god, yes, I've been playing CS since 1999. I know what I'm doing, but I'm going crazy because it feels like anytime I try to hold an angle, I'm one-tapped. So I'm thinking, okay, Peeker's advantage is greater, so I'll push and be aggressive. But even then, it feels like I'm dying instantly as I clear the corner. Then I survey everyone else, and it seems like no one else is dying like that. I'm convinced it's something I'm doing wrong, but like you said, the guys with top frag aren't using utility. They're playing like lunatics, and they're clearly new to CS. So why the fuck can't I win a gunfight to save my life? I don't feel like I'm ever even getting into gunfights. I'm getting one-tapped. Even when it's an M4, I'm getting killed by headshots as fast as an AK, but I know it should take 2 hits. I don't even hear 2 hits. I hear 1 dink and I'm dead. Something feels wrong, and I don't know what it is, but it's got me so frustrated, I'm ready to put down CS for the first time in 20 years. I'm not one to complain typically. In fact, this is my first post here. I was stoked for CS2, but the game feels almost unplayable. I genuinely want to know what's going on. I have about 600 hours in CSGO, was Gold Nova Master, which I understand is not a high rank whatsoever, but also not terrible. I have good game sense and was looking forward to improving, but my god, CS2 is making it damn near impossible. Every game I play, the enemy team just knows what's going on. The moment I turn a corner, instant headshot. Holding an odd corner, they know exactly where. They peek/swing and instantly 1, know where you're at, 2, shoot you with perfect accuracy. It just feels so damn weird, and I'm not saying everyone I play against is cheating, but I need clarity on why this is suddenly happening. Yes, I'm sure this is a skill issue, and I know I play and make mistakes, but it feels so punishing that my enemies don't. I'm not sure how I can improve. Been playing a fair amount of CS2, was really excited for a new competitive shooter to have fun with after quitting Rainbow Six a while ago. For context, I've always been pretty bad at CSGO, high silverish, but I also lost hundreds of games playing as a dumb middle schooler in like 2013. I was gold 1 to plat 3 when I played R6, not the best, but I'm not terrible at shooters is my point. Only a few days ago I was doing pretty well in Premiere, having fun, getting a decent KD, but recently I've been on a horrible loss streak. I'm talking like 5 to 10 games in a row where I struggle to get a .5 KD, and the team generally gets dumpstered. I feel like I'm getting killed faster than I can even react. I'll walk up to peek a corner, making no sound, only to get swung and pre-fired. At best, I do like 89 damage before getting lasered in the head. To me, a big part of what made CS fun was that there was a trade-off between movement and accuracy. In CS2 so far, it feels like Adderall plus AK-47 plus W mouse 1 equals a win. My only way to adapt so far has been to buy mollies every round on CT. Is this a skill issue on my part? Is matchmaking bad? Is the peeker's advantage suddenly worse than a few days ago? I've been trying to get ranked in Premier ASAP so I can have a decent matchmaking, but I'm stuck on 8 wins, playing against or with like 4 to 6k ELO players at the moment, but it feels like everyone else is a global. I want to get better if possible, but mostly I just want to have fun again and play against other bad players. Should I go back to competitive queue instead? Should I ask my doctor about prescription stimulants? Any other advice? As a longtime CSGO player, CS2 feels weird to me. I mean, what is up with all the headshots in this game? In regular games, it seems like a regular lobby has over 60 to 70% headshot ratio. I see some crazy stuff, like getting headshot in a single shot while the enemy is jumping, running, or peeking. I barely catch a glimpse of the enemy and I'm already dead, and it's not even rare. In a typical game, I get killed like that about 5 times, where I see the enemy for a frame before they headshot me out of my existence, while rushing around like some autistic COD player. It's strange that it seems like headshots are more accurate when you're running around like a maniac compared to when you're crouching or standing still. Heck, you're better off doing somersaults and cartwheels than crouching or shifting. Now, of course, peeker's advantage is more intense in CS2 than it was in CSGO, so many players have replied saying that these instant headshots are just the result of peeker's advantage and the poor rank calibration causing high skill players to get stuck in low ranks. However, there are some problems with this explanation. The first one is that, as I will show later, peeker's advantage doesn't work for everyone, and it doesn't explain why these instant headshots are always one-taps, even on players holding off angles that no one would pre-fire. The second problem is that the majority of kills in CS games are typically gotten from spraying, but it appears that in CS2, no one ever misses or even sprays anymore. I used to be a global in my sweaty days and went down to LEM once I went more casual and didn't really practice outside of competitive a few times a week. Games were fun and enjoyable. Haven't played in around 4 years and picked up the new Counter-Strike a few days ago. It actually amazes me the way players kill me at 4k elo, running and gunning with M4/AK and getting me, peeking and one-tapping me like they're some kind of gods, flicking with their op instantly when they see me and I'm off position, with barely any time for me to react. Sometimes I barely see their shoulder and I get one-tapped. Sometimes I'm jumping me and they peek one-tap me while I'm in the air. Sometimes the same guys that one-tap peek me multiple times in a match miss their whole clip when I'm with my back to them, or miss every op shot when I 80-80 in front of them. I don't remember global games being this hard and frustrating. People sprayed 70% of the time to kill me back then, not just obliterate me the millisecond we saw each other. A lot of people claiming that the one-tap instant headshots are just really good players don't really seem to have much experience playing at higher ranks in CSGO. Globals are not so good they can consistently one-tap you in the head every round before you can react. Most of the time, when I was playing in LE, I would get into aim duels where we would just burst at each other for a few seconds while trying to get a headshot. I could comfortably peek an angle and try to get a headshot without being domed every single round. Even in pro games, when you watch them, you can see that it takes players a second or two to score kills after peeking, and most of the kills are from spraying or bursting, not one-taps. A lot of this, people defending these instant one-tap headshots and thinking they're just like super high-skilled players, is actually just low-skilled players overestimating how good skilled players actually are at the game, because these guys have never actually played in a high skill bracket. Cheating is a serious and undeniable problem in CS2 at every rank. Many players claim that these instant headshot so-called Ferrari peaks or Zantares peaks are the result of people cheating, which might explain why these 4K ELO players are better at aiming than professionals and global elites. I'm not usually one to make a thread like this, however, I want to add my input on CS2's current state. Overall, there have been some great improvements in systems with CS2. For example, I preferred the buy wheel, however the refund system is awesome and a welcome addition. CS2, however, is a terrible game right now. For context, I am an LEM player with 2.5k hours in the game, and I've been playing for around 10 years. Knowing this information, yesterday I finished my ranking matches. Over nearly every game, I was either overall the top player or top of my team, but I still lost 10, so my win rate on rank was exactly 50%. CS2 has decided that, for some reason, my placement ELO is 1700. My beta placement was 9500 with a 65% win rate. At first I was shocked, but overall just said, so what? I'll just carry my matches and rise back up, right? Wrong. Very wrong. I strongly believe that I have not played a single match in over 20 now that hasn't had a hacker with 0 to 300 hours obviously running around corners and instantly headshotting. It feels off. It doesn't feel like CSGO. Their movement and positioning is obviously that of an unexperienced player. Every person in Silver has such high headshot percentage that it feels like I'm playing a headshot-only DM server. Cheating is so rampant, I literally see it on nearly every team, including mine, in every game. The guy who deleted his account or whatever is right. I have over 20 years of experience of CS. Majority of time it's a cheater, yes. I know they are cheating because it's easy to tell through aim and movement, etc. And yes, I'm probably better than you at the game, so I know. VAC Live only works if you're a streamer and a Valve employee is watching and gets notified, then they ban. I've literally never seen a person get banned yet through this Reddit for cheating, not hardware false bans or the DPI ban, unless they were a big streamer. It happens all the time. Someone runs while shooting and instantly headshots you with a one-tap. No, it isn't counter-strafing or sub-tick. Even the experienced cheaters know how to hide it, so they'll never yet get caught. They know where the enemy is, they cheat to kill the top fragger or best player, but then feign ignorance on the others, but will consistently either avoid the enemy team quickly, check through walls where the enemy is, and then camp their corner. Well, I used to be decent in CSGO. Most of the games felt fair and okay. Sometimes I'd queue up against a 10k hours, 2,500 ELO, but I also had good teammates, Legendary Eagle Master, Global Elite level, so it still felt good. But now the balancing is broken. I keep getting 500 hours, 2,000 ELO prodigies, 5 pre-mades, 25 to 40% friends with VAC bans. They rack up to 30 kills, 2,000 damage first half, greatest game sense ever, always knows the holes in our defense and pushes us in the back, but never when you check. They pre-aim the weirdest off angles nobody has ever played. I play them solely to expose them. I even started my small collection of clips where I expose sus players, move toward an angle like I'm gonna peek but stop at the last moment so I'm not seen, and they pre-fire me anyway because of walls. I'm not saying all people stronger than me are cheating. Most people are actually better than me, but I don't think I should play against overskilled people all the time. I was given 9k, but those aforementioned 2k elos are always like 3 to 5k in Premiere. I want to have a fair queue. I don't want to steamroll one game and get steamrolled in another. That's how it is right now. It's just not fun. Even games are almost non-existent. I feel like boycotting CS2 unless Valve actually starts to do something. Me alone won't change anything, but together we might do something. Intrusive cheat detection is good enough to filter out free undetectable cheats and to make cheating a little more expensive for cheaters, and the anti-smurfing and anti-account boosting system is non-existent, even though they have the experience of Dota 2. I always play against 3 types of cheater accounts: Steam level 0, no badges or just one single pin, no hours displayed or less than 300 total, sometimes less than 50. 1 game owned, 5 to 10 friends, you check their stats on CSGO stats and they're gods of CSGO. Steam level 10, 2,000 hours in CSGO, but somehow only played 50 matchmaking games. Random amounts of hours in free-to-play games with no achievements in those games, 15 to 30 friends. Steam level 30, 2,000 hours in CSGO, 150 commendations in all categories. Sometimes this is 1,000 plus. Loads of the pins, has some cringe flashy profile, but you can tell it's not a real profile that has been used consistently for years. What I'm showing is that you can buy accounts loaded with CSGO for literal pennies, and they can range from blank accounts to ones which look legit. Every single scammer who adds me has the same profile, level 10 Steam account that I've described above, except they have 2,000 hours in CSGO but no achievements. Same with Dota, etc. Wall hacker, cheater. I see a lot of bad people, but somehow they are top ADR. It's obvious that the cheating situation is out of control. On top of all that, as one might expect, the high elo matches in Premier are full of cheaters because it appears that VAC Live isn't working. VAC Live apparently relies on matchmaking demos in order to ban cheaters, and guess what? Demos have been officially disabled. So how is Valve supposed to make VAC work when the demos that VAC relies on to ban people are not even available? First week of release, I ran into maybe one cheater. Now in the last 2 days, I've lost 5 games to blatant cheaters rage hacking. Around 14,000 elo, always someone 15,000 queued with 1 or 2 unranked people. Both days ran into different cheating squads back to back. Kicker is, 4 out of 5 of those games, random players on my team turn on their own cheats to combat the enemy cheaters. Playing full hack versus hack is ridiculous. Just shows how many people have them downloaded and just soft cheat or turn them on when they start losing. My question is, how are the top guys with crazy win percent not running into these guys? I have 1,000 hours, Prime enabled, etc., etc. So is this the reason why players are getting killed by instant headshot peaks? Possibly, and I think it explains the vast majority of it. However, I think that the reality is perhaps a little bit more complicated and maybe even a little bit sinister. You see, other players have pointed out that CS2 feels very inconsistent. In some rounds, you can do really well and your shots feel like they're all landing, and you finish the game with like 30 frags. In the next game, nothing works and you bottom frag. You can't spray, you can't headshot, you can't peek anything, and it feels like you're always 2 seconds behind your opponents. You're getting out-aimed by silvers who just run and gun, W mouse 1, they move like bots, they force buy every round, and they don't even use any utility, they just dry peek everything and rush through smokes. As this Supreme player says, it often feels like that your shooting in these games is just RNG. I've played CSGO and got to Supreme in 2015, have barely played since 2016-ish though, and I've been playing Valorant on and off for the last couple of years. I don't know if it's by design or not, but in Valorant, it feels like I know when I'm going to get headshots or hit shots in general. I see my crosshairs, know where the bullet is going to go, etc. In CS2, I feel like it's a complete crapshoot. I get headshots that don't even feel like they should be headshots and vice versa. Just feels like there's much more RNG than what I remember. Not sure if this is a symptom of networking or not. Has anyone else noticed that while some matches are the way it's supposed to be, others feel like your enemy is half a second to a second ahead of you, your bullets do not register, or it feels like they register late or less. One game you can drop 30 kills, and the next game you play like a bot where it feels like you should get the kills when you fight, but you couldn't, and at the end you see your damage is way less than you expect. Does anyone have any idea why it might be like that? What's more is that players with a lower level of skill at the game are somehow managing to consistently outplay higher skilled opponents. I see dudes that never made it out of silver in CSGO outplaying LEM all the time. Something is weird. At the same time, good players report performing terribly in CS2, while bad players report performing unusually well. Been playing CSGO since 2014 and was relatively decent at it. I had good game sense, understood physics, spray patterns, crosshair placement, etc., and was one hell of a good opper for my time playing. I'm talking getting 4 picks mid on Mirage from Sniper's Nest. In my mind, I was goated. I was super hyped for CS2, but now that I'm actually playing it, I feel as if I'm complete garbage at the game and as if I've never played it. To me, the mechanics feel completely different and or off. Using the op is when I first noticed it. Normally I'd hit 90% of my shots, and now it feels like I'm shooting blanks or just missing completely. I just feel as if it's a totally different game now. Nothing feels the same to me. I just want to know if any of you feel the same way. Does the game feel different? CS2 feels completely different compared to CSGO. I play massively better in CS2. I'm the sort of player that's always taking the stupid risks when it comes to pushes or positioning, always in the name of fun because I prefer to seek engagements than just sit corners like a wimp. Partly is due to how fucked the ranking is now. I can do just as I please now and usually stunt on Valorant guppies or new players instead of getting punished. That being said, despite feeling like I'm better at the game, the ranking doesn't reflect that. I've gone from Gold Nova 3 average to Silver 2 Office, my main map, in 5k on Premier. I could climb out, but I'm not enticed enough to bother with how mucked up rankings are. I'll return in 12 months or so to climb properly. Got 10k in beta though, and had amazing matches in beta. Matches that felt perfect in terms of matchups and skill, so why Valve wanted to rank reset everyone, I'll never understand. Also, I just want to point out that this Gold Nova 3 player got 10k MMR, which is basically CS2's equivalent of Global Elite. Like, how does that make any sense? I got so close to deleting the game today. I was like, okay, I have time for one game, and aim got dumpstered so hard. Granted, it was Vertigo, my least favorite map, but even so, I ended up like 5 to 20. And it's not a rare coincidence either. I just made it to 2k elo and face it before the release, so not near your level, but I'm 10k elo as well now and have a similar experience. My assumption is that running gun headlessly is strong at the moment because of Peeker's advantage and whatnot, and I'm a more slow and methodical player, so I don't fit in the meta right now. Additionally, Premier's elo system itself is very inconsistent. Some players will receive 400 or 500 points for winning a match and only drop 100 for losing a match. Others will lose 500 points and gain only 100, making it utterly impossible for them to ever rank up. Many people have speculated why this happens, but no one can find any solid answers. Some people have reported that win and loss streaks don't matter, that individual performance doesn't matter, and that win rate doesn't matter either. Players with below a 50% win rate have somehow managed to rank up to 5k and higher, while players with a higher than 60% win rate are stuck at 4k and getting the 500 elo loss. This guy says that the OP's skill was too low to rate accurately before 4k, which is why he's stuck at 4k, but this guy replies that he was supreme in CSGO, but his skill is apparently too low to rate accurately in CS2. He has 120 games, 62% win rate going strong. Peak comedy. I don't think there's any way people who are LE are getting stuck at 4k. I was peak Gold Nova 2 in Go, I was placed at 1999, and last week I went from 3k to 5k in 3 days. Overall win rate, 48%. I'm not crazy good at the game, and it really isn't hard to rank up above 4k. So it appears to me that the game determines what elo a person should be at from the outset, and then tries to adjust the elo win-loss ratio to place them there no matter what happens. No one is sure why or how it does this, or maybe it just doesn't do this at all. It's impossible to know how Premier's elo system works if Valve doesn't give us any details at all. It's important to note that elo gain and loss is decided not during or after the match, but before the match even starts, so it doesn't depend on performance in the match itself, and it's just decided before you even play the game by some kind of algorithm. Players with alt accounts have reported that their elo in both accounts is completely different. One account gets locked at 4k and can't rank up, while the other can reach 10k very easily because they get differences on each account in their elo win and loss ratio. The person's performance is exactly the same on both accounts, but some third factor that nobody can understand is causing differences in elo gain and elo loss. The result of this issue is that CS2 does a poorer job than CSGO at placing a person based on his skill level. Games at or before 4k elo are extremely inconsistent in terms of skill. The game will group together unskilled players with very highly skilled players like Global Elites or Face at level 10s against silver players. It's totally random how skilled your teammates and opponents will be, and so consistently winning matches at that rank is hard, if not impossible. Some players have even said that when they did manage to get out of 4k after a win streak, the game actually became much easier. 10k elo players have complained that the game puts gold novas on their team with bad crosshair placement. So it really does seem like CS2 is just arbitrarily deciding what rank a person should be, and that skill and performance simply do not factor into this equation whatsoever. Now this brings us to the main subject of the video, and what I think possibly explains all of these bugs, all of these inconsistencies, the hit registration issues, and the problems with the elo system. Engagement optimization. But what is that? Engagement optimization is a monetization strategy which is used by major publishers and is designed to keep people from quitting games, causing them to play longer. The longer they play, the more likely they are to make in-game purchases, which drives up the company's profit. The recent Call of Duty titles, starting with Advanced Warfare, have used some form of engagement-optimized matchmaking in their titles to create addictive win-loss cycles by deliberately creating uneven teams and by rigging matches. And they also use this system to shield very low-skilled players, players who don't even know how to play video games, against higher-skilled players and even against average players. The community mistakenly calls this system skill-based matchmaking, or SBMM, but it is not skill-based, but rather it's engagement-based. In addition to engagement-optimized matchmaking, or EOMM, there's now engagement optimization applied to gameplay in real time. Players discovered an Activision patent that described a way of altering hitbox size, player health, weapon accuracy, weapon damage, and other stats in the middle of a gameplay session for the purpose of optimizing engagement. So in other words, Activision patented a system that nerfs or buffs a player mid-round depending on that player's performance, level of skill, and engagement state. This system works not by measuring a player's performance using conventional methods like KD ratio or win-loss ratio, but rather it uses machine learning and complicated recording and telemetry to analyze a player's inputs and determine his skill level using metrics like actions per minute, even going as far as to analyze a player's mouse sensitivity, his positioning, and which weapons he uses, as well as his loadout, sort of like what Leadify does for Counter-Strike. This system is pretty subtle, but it causes strange scenarios and general weirdness or inconsistency that wouldn't look out of place in CS2. Several members of the Call of Duty community have experienced odd inconsistencies in the game after they've done well in a match, such as shots that don't register, instant deaths to weak weapons, and reduced damage against enemies. Here's some clips of this engagement-optimized gameplay in action in Modern Warfare 2022.
Dude, I don't have a... God damn it, man. I can't get those.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Look at that. Look at that skill-based fucking hit reg right there. Fucking game is trash, dude. Jesus fucking... God, this game... Look at the skill-based damage on that.
Ground loot XMR. Hads is wearing 3 plates. Does this kill him in one headshot hit? As you can see, no it doesn't. But what if it was a custom build that I'd made myself that I could purchase at a buy station? So high velocity XMR, is that a one-hit kill? No it isn't. High explosive XMR, is that a one-hit kill? No it isn't. Incendiary XMR, is that a one-hit kill? No it isn't. And yet this happened to me a few games earlier. How on earth does that make any sense? I literally can't replicate what happened in that clip in a real match. Downed in one hit wearing 3 plates. You can see in the kill cam that there's no one else shooting at me. I get hit once and then not. I'm swimming away to the safe zone. There's a player in the water behind me. I equip 2 plates as that's all I have. I shoot the enemy player in the head, break their armor, continue to shoot, get no hit registration, and then I'm killed in 2 melee hits. So watch the health bar. First hit takes me down to like 20% remaining in plate 1. Second hit happens now, removes that plate completely. From what I can tell, this is the build that Ronnie Cruz 97 was running here. The important part though is the muzzle, because there are 2 attachments for this gun that can increase your melee damage. But Ronnie Cruz 97 clearly didn't have either of those attachments on the gun that 2-hit melee killed me. Ronnie Cruz 97 had a suppressor on. So let's test. And this is where it starts to get weird. I built the same gun, loaded into a real match with Hads, bought the gun at a buy station, met up with him and dropped the gun. And then I made sure that I had a 3-plate vest with 2 plates in, like in the real clip. And in most of the testing that we did, which you're seeing here, 2 hits from melee will not kill me. We tried doing it fast, we tried doing it slow, we tried aiming at the head, etc. Even I tried it on Hads. It didn't kill him and it didn't kill me until this happened. Why has that killed me?
Why has that killed you?
That was 2 hits. 1, 2 hits.
Bro, what? Dude, are you serious? I just lost a game. What? What am I playing? What am I playing? What am I playing? I just lost because of that.
Damage in the morning. What? That first shotgun shot should have probably killed. Man, he's fucking slaying though. Okay. Damage in the evening, same day. What? he couldn't be more center mass. What? No, dude. Yo, okay. This might be the worst one yet. That is insanity. What?
Problems with inconsistent damage and hit registration are also plaguing CS2. I've found at least 3 videos of something I've experienced myself multiple times after playing around 50 games of Premier. One-shot headshot weapons not one-shotting on a headshot, or weapons that can't one-shot one-shotting players.
I can't do it.
Alright, let's just...
Bam.
Oh, connect.
No, you bro, Jared, how did that guy just one-tap me with the M4 to a wall?
So what you see is what you get.
Personally, I've seen my own AK shots dink someone. I've triple dinked someone with a P250 and he was only 5 feet away, which shouldn't even be possible. Damage is also generally inconsistent with all weapons. I've done 89 damage and 7 hits at close range with a Galil, which is not even statistically possible, even if I were to only hit leg shots against someone who is wearing armor. I calculated it myself, taking damage fall off, armor damage reduction, armor penetration, and all other variables into account. The Galil does 30 damage per shot, damage fall off is only about 5%, and it has 77% armor penetration. An armor leg shot deals 75% damage, so all told, it deals around 121 damage in 7 shots. It is not possible to deal less than 100 damage in 7 shots using a Galil. My calculations are not perfect, and in fact, I seem to have actually underestimated how much damage the Galil does. But if you don't believe me, I've actually gone and tested this in-game. No matter how far away I was, it was impossible for me to kill a Kevlar-wearing bot in less than 5 shots to the legs with the Galil. This is the worst case scenario for hitting someone with a Galil. 89 damage in 7 shots is impossible. Why can this even happen in a round of Premier? The only logical conclusion is that the game is forcing damage values to sometimes be artificially low. And it's not just me noticing this. Other users on Reddit have noticed that damage from pistol headshots is very inconsistent. They either deal too much damage or too little damage. This has been puzzling me and my friends. On multiple occasions on pistol rounds, so no helmets, we all see and hear the dink sound, but the opponents do not die. For example, I was using the P2000 and the opponent took 52 damage in 3 hits, and one of these was a very clear headshot from 10 or 15 meters away. Same thing has happened to all of us on all starting pistols. Have you had this happen? I usually play in a group of 2 or 3 people, and as I said, all of us hear the dink. Had this happen once, but also the opposite, where I one-tapped someone with a Glock 101 at a distance that would not have been a one-shot kill in CSGO. I personally noticed this as well, although I don't have footage of it. The Glock will sometimes gush people 10 feet away, but one-shot someone across mid on Mirage, and that would be at the start of the round, so enemies have 100 HP, and it's not like they're dying in one shot just because they're lit. For reference, the one-shot distance for the Glock is 15 meters. Nothing about this, or the 89 damage in 7 shots Galil example, makes sense unless the game is changing damage values mid-round to nerf specific players. Mid-round engagement optimization can also partially explain the problem with instant headshots and this supposed peeker's advantage. The reason why I think this might be true is because this peeker's advantage just doesn't work for some players, and yet, for others, they report that they can wide swing out and kill people before anyone reacts. What might be happening is that the game could be introducing fake lag to give certain players an advantage, causing his model to appear later on the enemy's screen. Some people also call this lag compensation, but what if the lag compensation is being deliberately changed by the game to advantage certain players? This would allow him to aim and shoot before the person being peeked can even see him, and it would also explain why peeker's advantage just doesn't work for some people. Everything I do feels like I'm always in a delayed state of about half a second. Peek, the enemy always has an identical reaction time to me. They peek, I swear I never see them stop and try to counter-strafe me. It's always a moving headshot. I saw it once on a Faceit server, which is a little bit better than usual matchmaking. I was MG1 on CSGO, but now I'm struggling to keep a 50% win rate. I'm always last in the scoreboard, and it's getting really frustrating to keep playing. Now, you might raise a fair objection to the possibility that CS2 has implemented engagement optimization in the gameplay. Counter-Strike is a highly competitive game, so if it isn't fair and it doesn't reward a player's individual skill, people are just going to start leaving the game. Valve cannot afford to alienate its core player base, so why would they add a system like this that nerfs skilled players into the game? Surely people would be able to figure out what's happening, and this would kill the game's profitability once people find out. Well, my first answer to this problem is that the Call of Duty games very clearly have this engagement optimization nerfing players, and yet it's still a very well-selling game from year to year. The vast majority of players will not be negatively impacted by this system because they're not skilled enough to cause it to engage, and usually it will work in their favor. So for the vast majority of players, this actually increases the possibility that they will keep playing and spending money in the game. And the core players, for various reasons, will still continue to play the game, even though they know it's clearly rigged, because it's not possible to verify that the system exists. It's still basically just speculation and impromptu testing at this point. The other answer to this objection is that highly competitive games with a vast skill ceiling themselves are generally just not very profitable, and this is why Valve would want to implement engagement optimization. In any competitive game, most players are going to average out around the lower to mid ranks, and they're going to have a tough experience while they're playing. They don't understand the mechanics, they don't know how recoil works or how to counter-strafe, so their bullets will just disappear into air, and they'll miss despite putting the crosshair right on a guy. They'll get so consistently outplayed by better players that they will lose and derank so much that they'll quit the game. This is what the average new player runs into when they first start playing. This is a huge problem for Valve's profitability, since CS2 is a free-to-play game, and for it to even make any money at all, it has to hook people in and keep them playing so they'll decide that buying loot boxes is a good idea. Since low-skill players are the vast majority of the player base, Valve needs to cater to them somehow, or they're not going to profit as much as they should. As a corporation, in a capitalist society which is driven by the profit motive, their only duty is to squeeze as much profit potential out of a product as they possibly can. I mean, why do you think CS2 has loot boxes? Valve practically invented the modern loot box economy in Team Fortress 2 with their hats. So the most valuable players for Valve are actually the average low-skill players. They need to keep them from quitting the game, so they need to ensure that these new players will have a fun experience, that they will win some matches, and possibly even rank up a little bit. This is why CSGO tried to keep the majority of players around Gold Nova, and this was especially apparent after they did a rank recalibration late in the game's life cycle. So these players would not be too high in the game, but they would also not be so low that it would be insulting to them. However, I think Valve has been paying attention to market research in the past few years, as well as the engagement optimization techniques that other live service games like Call of Duty or Apex Legends have been implementing. They know that they can make even more money out of players and prevent player attrition by implementing engagement optimized gameplay, as well as by messing with the elo system and matchmaking to artificially inflate the ranks of low-skilled players. They will give low-skilled players a sense of accomplishment because they're hitting their shots, they're outplaying skilled opponents, and they're even getting some higher ranks, like getting into 5k or 10k elo. Low-skilled players tend to be extrinsically motivated, so they will want to get something out of the game. They aren't playing just to improve their skill or to get better or win matches. They're playing to have fun and to rank up. So it's beneficial for their engagement to give them some success early on to get them hooked onto the game. As a result, they'll be more likely to spend money on the game and less likely to quit. And by the way, as an aside, have you noticed that it's always silvers unboxing knives and never global players? It's funny how that works out. All the legendary eagles and globals I've played with have only ever had default knives. They never unbox knives. It's always the silvers and gold novas I see who have knives. But of course, rigging the game so that low-skill players can artificially enter ranks they don't belong in would come at the cost of potentially alienating veteran players, skilled players, and professionals. And on top of that, nerfing players mid-round and buffing low-skill players mid-round would make the game fundamentally unfair and duplicitous. However, Valve can ensure that high-skill players are less likely to quit by keeping the system very subtle and plausibly deniable. They can ensure that these high-skill players don't quit. They're effectively being gaslit into believing that they are just missing their shots or having a bad game. And unlike a new player, they will not respond to the game by quitting, But instead, they'll respond by practicing more and spending more time in-game trying to grind their elo up and their skill up, practicing their one-taps, their counter-strafing, and their spraying. By frustrating and tilting skilled players who, unlike low-skilled players who are intrinsically motivated to play the game rather than being extrinsically motivated like the low-skill players, they're getting more investment into the game out of them, so they'll also be more likely to spend money and to drive up the game's daily active users. This is the same way that Call of Duty manages to keep streamers and veteran players active and in-game, chasing the dragon of a 2.0 KD lobby or a match win. There is a lot of market research on how to optimize engagement and what behavioral patterns players will exhibit in games according to different game states, such as winning or losing a match or performing well and performing poorly. Researchers have found ways to exploit these behavioral patterns to keep players addicted and spending cash. I won't explain all of this in the video because it's rather complicated, and I have another script on this subject that I might release at some point, but there is a paper by Huang et al. That explains this in more detail. And once you see how the sausage is made, you'll never want to come back to modern multiplayer FPS games ever again. I sincerely hope that I'm wrong, and that the reason CS2 feels so inconsistent, and the reason why players who are high skill in CSGO keep bottom fragging in CS2 against silvers is just because the game is buggy. Or maybe because it's a skill issue and these players have fallen off since last time they played CS. But this is one of those big if true things if it's actually real. Valve as a company has sort of a golden reputation among the gaming community, but people keep forgetting that Valve has actually done terrible things in the past. They practically invented loot box gambling and live service games with TF2. They normalized releasing half-finished games with episodic content. They normalized forced DRM and non-physical copies with Steam, and they even allowed Bethesda to attempt to monetize modding on the Steam Workshop. Bethesda always gets the blame for that, for paid mods, but everyone ignores that Valve facilitated it in the first place. I think what we're seeing is that Valve, and a lot of other companies that gamers have previously loved because of their stellar reputation and goodwill with consumers, are degenerating morally. Like all companies, their only duty under the profit motive is to make profit. And so eventually, it's just going to become another EA or Activision. As more and more megacorporations buy up publishers and development studios, things are going to centralize so much that the profit-seeking will reach critical mass. Microsoft has recently bought not just Bethesda, but also Activision. It is the biggest actor in the space of video games right now, and they're going to keep gobbling up the market just like Standard Oil. The games industry is currently becoming a grotesque, monopolistic monster, and no company or studio is immune from this. So stop giving Valve or any other poor little indie company the benefit of doubt. Start scrutinizing them, start criticizing them, and pressure them for answers. Why is CS2 so broken? Where are the updates? Why are our shots missing? And why haven't they made a serious effort in the past 10 years to solve the cheating problem? If what I'm theorizing is true, and the game does have engagement optimized gameplay, then this is the end of Valve as a games first company, and it's the end of Counter-Strike as a fair, competitive game. I hope we get some real answers soon, but until then, keep all of what I said in mind. Maybe it's not actually a skill issue, but rather an engagement issue. Maybe the game is just forcing you to lose.